things on me. All righty. So let's start off by getting into a comfortable seat. It's I You can sit up on something or not. It's up to you. Legs can be crossed or in any other position. And we'll start by just tuning into the body. So you can rest your hands somewhere that's comfortable. Start to breathe and notice. I should say continue to breathe, but start to notice your breath. And then I'll invite you to do a big exhale, kind of like you're trying to let everything go that's not serving you at the moment. So you can do a big inhale through the nose, and when you exhale, like a big a big sigh. And then in your own time, just inhaling, exhaling, letting everything go that you don't need. Very nice. You can do a few more if that felt really good, or just come back to your normal breathing. And today we'll be working on the back in some different positions. So we're going to start off lying on it. So lying on the back. And you can start by extending your legs and then extending your arms over your head and just doing a big stretch. Imagine yourself extending your spine. Big, big, big stretch. And then you can let it relax. Another sigh out. And then we'll bring the knees up to the ceiling. So bend the knees, feet on the floor. And we'll start to do some pelvic rocks. So just starting to wake up the lower back. So starting to flatten the lower back on the ground and then lifting the lower back off of the ground. And at the same time, pushing the pelvis down. And then the opposite. So back and forth, smushing the low back down. And then smushing the pelvis down, lifting the low back off of the ground. And you can have your hands anywhere that's comfortable. And then you might like to turn this movement into a bit of a circle. And it might feel good to have your knees move with you as well. So you can imagine your knees doing a small circle around as you come up to the left, and then you flatten your low back, circle down to the right, excuse me, and then circle over to the left again. So you can imagine you're drawing a circle on the mat with your pelvis around the edges. And then opposite direction when you're ready. This is a nice one to really have your brain in the movement because you really have to focus on each part of the circle. Okay, great. All right, let's extend the legs out again. Extend the arms and do that big stretch once more. So reaching the arms away from the body, legs away from the body. Reach, 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 and then sigh it out as you relax. Okay, great. We'll start to move a little bit into the mid back um, by doing some twists. So we're going to start to knock the knees to the left, knock the knees to the right. And you can really allow your lower back to move, but also your ribs. You can feel your ribs lifting off of the ground each time you turn your knees to the left and turn your knees to the right. you feel any sticky spots in your hips, like if it feels really nice to kind of pull your knees down to one side and really lift the pelvis off of the other side, you can pause there for a moment, pushing your knees down. Okay, great. All right. And then we'll move up into the upper back now. We'll reach up to the ceiling with our arms and pretend you're trying to grab something off the ceiling with your right fingertips. Lift your right shoulder blade off the ground and then lower that back down. Lift your left arm up, left shoulder blade off the ground, reach towards the ceiling and back down. So now we're twisting into the upper back, trying to isolate the movement up there. So really nothing else needs to move, just your upper back. Your ribs might also lift off of the ground. And you might like to start to reach more diagonally, so more across the body. And then you'll feel more of your back lift up off the ground. So you can experiment with that. There's my friend. There's my frenemy. No, just kidding. We're best friends. Okay. We're going to bring the arms around the body like you're giving yourself a nice hug and do the same thing. So lifting one shoulder blade off the ground and then the other shoulder blade off the ground. Turning left and right, just the upper body. You can feel like you're pulling yourself to the left and then pulling yourself to the right with your hands as you grab onto the shoulder blades. Okay, great. All right, let's do that extension one more time. Arms up by the ears and legs extending, reaching, reaching, feeling like you're trying to reach in opposite directions as much as you can. And then relax. Nice. Okay, we are going to turn onto the belly now. So you can turn what is that? Onto the belly. And we'll start with our full body on the ground. And we'll start with our arms out to the side. You can have your head up or you can have your forehead down on the ground. Okay, we're going to start with a bit of a twist with the lower body. So we can lift the left leg up, or let's say first of all, we'll bend the left knee and start to kick over to the right side and then come back to center and do the other side. So bend the right knee, lift it up off the ground and kick over so that you're getting in a twist on each side into the lower back. You could also have your hands underneath your forehead and do it that way. And you're bending the knee, and you can go as far as it feels comfortable. But this is a nice and loose movement, getting some twist concentrated into the lower spine. Okay, let's come back to center. Now we're going to press the pubic bone down into the mat. So pressing your pelvis down. And when you do that, you'll feel a squeeze in your glutes. Okay, from there, we'll lift up into Sphinx pose. So we keep the pelvis grounded down, but we'll press the hands and the forearms into the mat. And you've got your elbows bent. Okay. From here, press your hands and forearms down and feel like you're lifting your ribs up into your body. And then subsequently, your belly might start to lift up off the ground. Maybe your low belly lifts up off the ground. And so you're in this kind of hollowed out position, starting to feel the core. You can push your head up as well, like push your chin upwards so that your neck is long. And from this small movement, you might be shaken. It's quite a bit of core work. Okay, and then we'll lower ourselves back down. Nice. Take a moment, rest your head or your cheek down on your hands and relax everything. Okay, so we'll come back up into Sphinx. Press your pubic bone down, feel your glutes squeeze. Press into your palms. Do that small lift of your ribs up into your body, maybe your belly lifts. And then can you lift your right leg off the ground just a little bit? And then lower that down. And can you lift your left leg off the ground a little bit? And instead of thinking about trying to reach your foot to the ceiling, think about extending it out from your body. So it's like I'm trying to reach the wall behind me with my toes. And so this still activates the glutes in the lower back, but it doesn't put any unnecessary like compression or um yeah, compression on your lower back. Nice. So we're just lifting and lowering. Oh, and I forgot about my lifting my ribs. See if you can keep that, your ribs lifted up into the body. So everything is very stable and strong. Okay, from there, let's lower everything down once more to rest. Sometimes it feels nice to shake your hips side to side like you have a tail and you're wagging your tail. Okay, let's work a little bit into the upper back. We're going to start by placing our hands a bit wider and near the chest. So if you have a mat, they'd probably be outside of the mat. And you can have your palms down or you can tent on fingertips. And we're going to do a little bit of a lift and lower. So again, keeping your pelvis pressed down into the ground, lifting and lowering, lifting. You can feel your shoulders hold back as you lift up, lifting and lowering. And then coming to pause one more time. Okay, let's get even more into the upper back. You'll bring your hands wide, like a Y position. It might feel nice to keep your head on the ground for this one. But what we'll do is we'll lift one arm up and then the other arm up. And if this Y position doesn't work, you can bring it down a little bit to like a very wide Y or even a T and lift up. So now we're really targeting the upper back. In fact, it might feel interesting to start in the Y position. And then every time you lift and lower, you move your arm down until you get into that T shape with the arms. And then you bring them back up. So I'm lifting and lowering, and at the same time, moving my arms up and down from that Y position diagonal all the way until I get down to a more straight position, perpendicular to the body. Invite your neck to relax, your jaw. And when you're ready again, we'll lower that down and you can rest with your head on your forearms. I mean, on your hands. Might feel nice to rock your head side to side, rolling your forehead on the backs of your hands. Okay, great. All right, from here, we'll bring the hands back into that Y shape, and then we'll tent the fingers so we get a bit of a lift with the arms. And as you tent your fingers, see if you can keep your arms straight rather than bent. And then we'll pause here and then see if we can lift the legs off of the ground. If that doesn't work, you could come up onto your toes and just lift your knees off of the ground. So we've got arms lifted, but they're being supported by fingertips. And then we've got legs lifted, being supported by toes. So we'll pause here. And then from there, if you like, you can experiment with lifting your toes off of the ground and your hands off of the ground. Like you're Superwoman and you're flying. So we've got everything lifted. But again, not so much lifting up, but lifting out, trying to reach everything away from the body, keeping the chin tucked. Breathing here. And then lowering everything back down. Ah, beautiful. Okay, from here, let's bring the hands next to the chest, and then we'll come on up onto hands and knees and back into a child's pose. So this is another way to really stretch the spine. And you can keep it active by pressing into your palms, pressing downward with the palms. Okay, we're going to move into a little bit of a flow. So you'll continue to press your palms down so much that you pull yourself up and then into an upward facing dog. So we're not going to let our hips sink down so much. Let's see if we can keep our back nice and straight, our arms strong, and then we'll move back into that child's pose again. And so you press into your hands, pull yourself forward into the upward facing dog, hold steady, and then move back. And I really find that when I come up, when I pull into my hands, like, or I press my hands down and I exhale, I can really feel my abs engaged. So you can give that a try. Inhaling back and then exhaling, pressing into the palms, moving forward. Inhaling back into child's pose. And then exhaling, pressing into the palms, pulling yourself forward. One more time. And then back into child's pose. And then we'll come on up into hands and knees. Okay, so we're going to start with a regular old cat-cow, arching the back towards the ceiling and then sinking the chest, looking up. Okay, we're going to do one more arch and then we'll pause in the middle. And now we're going to do a segmented spinal movement. So it's like cat cow, but it's a little more controlled. So we'll start by tucking the pelvis. So we tuck the pelvis, and then that makes the low back start to arch up towards the ceiling. And then see if you can really move one part of your spine at a time. So the low back arches, then eventually the mid back. Then we move up to the upper back in between the shoulder blades, and then all the way so that we're in this big angry cat position. And then we'll come back by doing the opposite. So untucking the pelvis. So it starts to lift up towards the ceiling, and then your belly, low belly starts to drop. And then we again move up the spine in the same way. So then the mid back is curving down, upper back curving down, and then you're in the cow position. So it's the same movement, but it's much slower, and we're always starting with the pelvis. So the tuck of the pelvis is the beginning of the movement. And then we continue each part of the back at a time. And there are definitely spots in the spine which are quieter, meaning like we have less awareness of them. And in fact, it can be very interesting to do this with like a bolster or a blanket on your spine to have something tactile so you can really feel, am I moving each part of my spine at a different time, or are some parts more like kind of stuck together? Okay, one more time into either the cat or the cow part, whichever one you're on. Okay. And then we'll just come onto the forearms and then flip the palms. Okay. And this is a great one for your upper back. So we'll try to press everything down, press the forearms down, the backs of the palms, fingers, maybe even the wrists. And just notice if something is trying to pop up. Like for me, it's always my wrists, or maybe for you, it's your thumb. See if you can press everything down, or at least try. You can let the head release, but keep that work in the upper back. Okay, and then we'll let that go. You can bring your elbows, like walk your elbows in front of you with your hands, your palms facing each other. And then we'll bring the seat back. So it's kind of like you're coming into a child's pose, but you've got your elbows on the ground. And then your hands are in prayer. And you can just let everything sink down towards the ground. Okay. From here, let's come again onto the back. Okay. Now that you're on your back, see if it feels okay for you to extend your legs out. And if that feels okay, you can extend your arms again by your ears and do once more that big, big stretch. Like you've got tension in your whole body. You're stretching everything away from each other. Stretch, stretch, stretch. And then you go and relax everything down onto the ground, bringing yourself in a comfortable position for Shavasana. If you have a pillow or a blanket or block, you can put that under your head. Or you could put those things under your knees as well. And feel as if your spine is softening completely. I mean, it's quite a rigid structure, but the parts in between can be soft. And we can just visualize it sinking down into the ground. Your shoulders sinking down, shoulder blades, backs of the ribs, mid back, lower back. Everything is heavy. We're not pushing everything down. We're just feeling heavy. So you're welcome to stay in this position for longer, or if you want to come into a seat, we can close off our class, maybe sitting up onto something.
Because it's dinner time.
Yes. I don't know if it's ready yet, but okay.
That was
Thank
lovely, honey.
you. Good.
Really, my back, oh, it really responded.
Awesome.